Hello, once again, fellow peregrinos. Welcome to episode 89 of El Camino de Santiago Pilgrims podcast, where we talk about planning, preparation, and packing for walking the road to Santiago, as well as tips, tricks, and hacks to make your journey along the way a lot more enjoyable. To that end, in this episode, we are talking to Lindsey Bell, who is an English pilgrim that has walked the entire, should I say, through hiked the entire coastline of Great Britain last year. She is the fastest known record time holder for doing so, 6,136 miles in 298 days. Lindsey has also walked the Camino Frances, the Camino Portuguese, and is planning to walk the Via Francigena, which I believe goes from Canterbury all the way to Rome. I hope you enjoy it, everybody. You're in for a real treat. Lindsey's positive and inspirational energy is so infectious, and I'm sure she's going to get you on that road to Santiago before you can say Buen Camino. So, Lindsey, tell the listeners about the Camino de Santiago's that you have walked.
Okay, hello, I'm Lindsey. Nice to meet you all, by the way. So I walked the Sierra to Santiago with my mum over 3 days, which I loved, which then inspired me to then, after COVID, walk the Camino Frances, so from Saint Jean-Pierre to Santiago, and then I continued to Finisterre, to the end of the earth, as they say. And then the following year, I then walked the Camino Portuguese. And this year, I'll be doing the Via Francigena. So the Via Francigena, that you start in Canterbury, you walk from Canterbury along, and then you get the ferry over to Calais. And then from Calais, you walk through France, through the Champagne region, through masses of these beautiful forests and woodlands, and into Switzerland, where you then cascade some of the Alps and things, and then you travel through into Italy and you end in Rome. And I'll be doing that over 60 days with my tent, and staying in albergues and monasteries and whatever, bits and bobs along the way, and documenting it all on my YouTube channel and obviously across social media, in the hopes that it inspires lots of other people to try a Camino, whether that's the short versions, the long versions, do it in sections, whatever works for you in your life, because for me, it's transformed my entire second half of my life, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
So, what was the inspiration for you to first decide to walk a Camino or Caminos?
My mum. So my mum, I've done a lot of walking challenges with her over the years, and she said, I'd love to do the Camino. So we looked at the Sierra to Santiago. So I said, right, well, how would you feel if I came? And she said, God, thank goodness you said that. She said, I was hoping you'd say it. So we planned it to walk it over 3 days. And for me, that experience, it was your rucksack on your back, all different elements, loads of different people, lots of different communities, keeping it, life was simplistic, and there was this beautiful energy of people constantly going, Buen Camino, Buen Camino. And that I fell in love with that. And I then did a bit of research, and I hadn't realized that there's hundreds of Caminos. But obviously, one of the most well-known one is the Camino Frances. So lockdown then came, and I had been working 100-hour weeks. So it pushed a massive pause on my life. And I made a promise to myself because I then felt very connected with nature, my family, my friends. And I made a promise to no longer have my bucket list and to now have a live it now list. So the moment the pandemic doors of lockdown opened again, that was what I did. My live it now list, the first thing on it was to walk the Camino Frances. And it was the best 27 years and 27 days. I just felt so happy, so at peace, so liberated. Life, I felt like I belonged. So I decided that I thought, how do I help other people enjoy this happiness and deep connection, and inspire others? So yeah, that was kind of how the Lindsey Walks challenge, which in my own world, I believe is almost like a Camino of our mainland Great Britain, that anyone could choose to walk in sections or do the entire thing like I did, over 6,136 miles of it. Yeah.
I love what you said about the live it now list, not the bucket list. And I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate to that, given the experiences of the pandemic and how pent up everyone must have felt and caged in everyone must have felt. So that's a lovely thought for the listeners to take away from this conversation, if anything. So you've obviously got thousands and thousands of miles and kilometers in your boots, in your backpack. If, as well as your clothes, backpack, shoes, and phone, because everyone carries a phone with them these days, you could only take one other thing with you, what would that be?
Well, and food and water is included in that, is it?
And it will say the basics. Yeah, we'll say the
Yeah.
basics for survival.
Yeah. I'm not going anywhere without food and water.
I'm not going anywhere without my bananas.
Yeah. I would say Vaseline. And I would say Vaseline for the reason that it has prevented me from getting blisters. When I did the Camino Portuguese, I tried a new brand of boots that is based on walking barefoot, but I hadn't walked barefoot before. And that was 427 miles, and my feet for the first time blistered between toes, on the ball of my feet. It didn't stop me walking because nothing would. And I got known as, along that Camino, as the blisterer whisperer, because I was taking so much care. I'd bleed my blisters every day, help them heal so that I was able to still walk 20 odd miles a day. But come the end, there was a lovely guy. It was about a week before I finished. And there was this lovely guy in one of the albergues, and I was explaining about my feet. And he said, Vaseline, just put Vaseline all over your feet. I did that. From last year, I only had one blister. I mean, people say you shouldn't be putting petrol on your feet, and I am looking at using another product at the moment. So, but
Diesel?
it empowered me to, yeah, solar power. But it's actually called Body Glide. So someone said, look, please try this because it's much friendlier for your feet and to the planet. Because I do everything I wear and everything else is it's a very eco-conscious choice for me. But Vaseline, that I would take that. I got through 6 pots of that over 10 months. And I'm not talking the baby pots, we're talking the big pots. That's like stick it in, cover it all over your feet, lather them up, swish them. Yeah, it works.
And then you can moonwalk backwards basically the whole way.
Yeah, gliding.
Classic. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it first from the Blister Whisperer. That's how you should be known as from here on in. Not Lindsey Bell from Lindsey Walks, the Blister Whisperer.
Whisperer.
This is the kind of crack you get when two Essex folk start talking together.
Yeah.
You know it's the only way. Okay, so
Is Essex.
that's right.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things about the Camino is adjusting to walking so far, so many days in a row. What would you say was your hardest, maybe even lowest moment on the Camino? Tell us the whole story of how you pulled through it.
Do you know what? And this, it's a strange thing to say. It was the end because I didn't want it to be the end. I didn't want that experience to stop. And I was quite literally sobbing. And I could uncontrollably in that last 2 hours, in an elated, grateful, deep appreciation and reflective, just think, like you imagine when you might die, and everything flashes in front of you like your life movie. Those last 2 hours was just my 27 days of the French, that entire experience flashing through. And I just thought, I don't want this to end. Hence why I've just keep doing new caminos and new challenges with nature. Yeah, yeah. So I think that was the hardest, and I think as well it's why I think many people, when I ended up in Finisterre, there were quite a few people there that almost felt lost because the journey that they had embraced and the things they'd learned about themselves, about others, about being with nature, that deep connection, it's very difficult to find that then again in conventional life. And some of those people were trying to keep that feeling over however long it had taken them in Finisterre. And some people, you could see it left them lost. And I think that's why for me, when I do a challenge, or experience a Camino anytime with nature, I know that it's important for me to find what my next adventure with nature is and how I'm going to inspire others to do that. Yeah, otherwise I might end up a lost soul, and I don't want to be a lost soul.
I think your story is really inspiring and quite unique in the fact that you didn't go from walking a Camino and then just back into your normal life like I did, like most people do. You went from a Camino into a completely new life and have been able to transform your life into a life based around Caminos, which is really nice to witness from afar. And I'm sure will inspire lots of people as well. So thank you from me, because I've been watching what you've been up to on your socials and stuff and thinking, oh, me and my wife have said the same. Wouldn't we be nice? We just walk for the rest of our lives from one place to another. And you're doing that, which is really nice to see and truly
Oh,
inspiring. So
thank you
thank
very
you
much, Bradley.
from me and my missus and
No,
from everyone that's following you. I'm sure I thank you on behalf of them as well. So
it's all the people I meet. I find them incredibly inspiring. Yeah. And I think that I just love that in my life. I feel very fortunate, and I don't want that to stop. So I keep finding ways to make sure that that continues.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. I'd like you to, at the end of the interview, just tell everybody where they can follow you and find out more about what your next journey is. We'll leave that one hanging, a cliffhanger there. Keep people guessing. So
I like the cliffhanger. That was good.
that's it, like the cliffhanger. That's right.
It's intended.
No puns intended. So, from the hardest to the highest, tell us about a special day that stands out, a moment on the Camino when you felt on top of the world. Your favorite memory from any one of your Camino trips?
Oh, from any one of my Camino trips. Uh, I think it would have to be. Oh, it's very difficult because there is probably what I love, and that is there is no one day that is the same, and it seems to explode. Like when you're on a Camino, it explodes a newness with nature, with human connection, with connection with yourself. with this ability to kind of emotionally explore everything. Um, so to pick one specific day is, I don't think I can do it because each of them are so unique. And I think that's what makes a Camino an experience that everyone should, and I hope, go to do in their life. Because, yeah, that each and every day brings some nugget of special yumminess into your world. Yeah.
And how do you go about internalizing that, as you describe it, yumminess? How does that manifest?
Because it is everything. All of us have. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, go on. I can beep it
Yeah.
out. I can beep it out.
All of it. All of it. I won't swear. All of us have. Oh, I will swear because I can't help but swear. All of us have shit stuff happen in our life. It is part of life. In fact, no matter. And I'm a great believer that no matter how bad, tough, or awful those things are, and I've had those things, you would have had those things. Everyone will. No matter how bad that is, there is a positive. But that's often only found by the environment that you are surrounded by. And when you are on a Camino journey, you are immersed in that environment that is safe. There are the pressures and pace of life, it is removed for you to allow you to process your pain, your heartache, your loss, your happiness in at moments in life, your admiration of whether that's your children, your husband, your partners, it I think it just breathes that energy of time to be human and completely and utterly present. And
It
that
sets the
for me,
stage
my
for healing to take
soul.
place, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And honestly, I said to someone actually yesterday doing the Yorkshire Three Peaks, I don't think I ever would have. I've sobbed and screamed and be released so much, and being with nature just gives me that safe space to do that. And it's helped me be the best version of Lindsey that I could ever be. But that happens every single time that I'm with nature, um, which again, because we live these fast-paced lives, to go and do a Camino, to give yourself permission to be present for a moment in time, I think it just helps us reflect and then perhaps choose new paths in our life. Yeah,
Mm,
there you
yeah,
go.
I think something that just came to me while you were talking about that. If you're kind of physically sick, you'll go to a hospital and get some treatment. And if maybe your soul's sick or your spirit's sick, the Camino can be your hospital. If that sounds cheesy as that sounds, but
Yeah.
um,
But even no, that's not cheesy. I mean, I've met people doing my walk. I met a wonderful woman called Mel. She was diagnosed with cancer, came and walked with me. I was 6 weeks in. Come the end of my Lindsey Walks journey, she had all of her chemo and was now in remission. And she came and walked with me on the last day of that hike. Now, she had found nature for her as well. That was her part of her healing. And I've met many people that have, that whatever diseases they're journeying with, when they've spent time with nature. And she's now off to do her first Camino because I shared about my Camino experience, and that was what inspired me. And she's off to do her first Camino. So
it's
yeah,
well,
go do a Camino.
it's lovely to hear that someone's had such a positive experience from you doing it, and we wish Mel luck. What do you think would be the best piece of advice you have heard or been given or read about preparing to go on a Camino?
The best piece of advice. I would say planning to a certain degree. So I read your book, which had me wetting my pants, and I thought, who doesn't want all these different weird and wacky experiences that make you chuckle? and give you memories that last a lifetime. Two, I read the book as well that has all the albergues, each different stages. And I knew that I had a set amount of days, so I worked out roughly how much I'd like to walk each day, and was that achievable? Was I fit enough? Did I need to walk a bit more to prepare? And then the same with my pack up. So making sure that I had everything in there that I needed to thrive. And often we overcompensate, which I think you did as well. We like load everything into our packs in this kind of, yeah, I need all of this. And actually the Camino teaches you again, we don't need even all of that in our backpacks. We can strip that back and life can become even simpler. So yeah,
So
plan,
read,
and then you can just go
plan.
and enjoy the hell out of it.
Yes. So, and obviously reading up on the places you can stay is very important. If you're planning to do a Camino where you want to get your accommodation booked before you go. And of course, read a book. And why not read mine? It's called The Only Way is West. And apparently it had Lindsey Weiner pants. So hopefully you won't be yours.
Like you read yours.
Yes, I did. Don't bring that up. Spoiler alert. No, I'm only joking. I was supposed to tell him that.
It's very, very funny.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question. We're going to move nicely on to what surprised you most about yourself on the Camino?
I think it was things perhaps I hadn't realized that I hadn't realized that I needed to deal with. So because I had that time, things that have happened in my life that I've politely closed a door on because I'm doing my conventional life and needing to be different people that I am in normal life. Yeah, it allowed me to embrace different things in my world and then let go of them and be absolutely okay with that, which I just hadn't even realized that I hadn't quite dealt with some things that had happened in my life. So yeah, that made me feel very strong, really strong.
Surprised that it gave you the space to deal with all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And just enjoy living, actual living. Just yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising what you think living is when you are a
Mm,
pilgrim compared to a civilian. And you're like, yes, maybe this is more of what I need. And obviously, people can take away from that what they want, but silly little things like, I don't know,
yeah,
in the most recent Camino that I walked, I made sure I only checked my phone twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. And that surprisingly was enough to deal with all of the messages, emails, DMs, whatever you want to call it. I could do that in
yeah,
a 10-minute window every morning, every evening. Whereas when you're at home, you just casually just check your phone, just check how much mental bandwidth is wasted with that kind of stuff. It's incredible, really. But that's another topic because I want to ask you if there's something different you do when you return to the Camino, when you're going to do the Francigeno, for example. Is there something you've learned from your previous walks and something you're going to do differently this time?
well, something I'm going to do differently. I think I've on on the Camino Frances, I never booked anything. So I just completely trusted the journey. And wherever my body got me to each day, I would then find an albergue and that's where I would stay. And fortunately, touch wood, bar one day, there was always a bed for me. One day I knocked on five different, if there was a Jesus Christ, I felt like him that day because I knocked the first door, I knocked on no beds, second door, I got to the fifth, and there was a lovely guy and he said, I'm so sorry. We haven't got any beds, but I do have I said, look, I've walked 32 miles today. I said, can you please help me? And he said, look, let me make a call. And a friend of his had a room with a shower. He said, it's not an albergue, but are you comfortable to pay 32 euros. And I said, that's absolutely fine. And I sobbed because I got into that room with a shower. It was had its own shower, and I hadn't. That's that again. That is that deep appreciation because things you're living this beautiful basic life. Suddenly, to have a shower and a double bed with a door that yeah, I stopped smelling like canned fish, which was fantastic.
We've all had that moment of smelling like canned fish on the Camino, so don't worry, don't feel guilty about that.
So I think differently for this one, I won't book my albergues, but the other thing I'm going to do is camp a lot more. So wild camp, yeah. Because now that I've done the albergues, now that I've done a bit of camping, I'm going to mix the two because it's over 1,200 miles. I'm going to mix the two up. So I'm very excited about that. I love camping, but yeah, I know that my body needs rest and maybe the odd clean of canned fish smells. Yeah.
Can actually smell the canned fish coming through the earphones. Did you uncover any hidden gems on the Camino, somewhere that you didn't know was nice or interesting you'd recommend others visit?
Because I did these in 2022 and 2023, it's difficult to remember exact towns um, or sections without going back through every single day, I guess.
Is there a place where you can remember a certain feeling of thinking, oh, this is great, or wow, I didn't.
I can't. I mean, I associate feelings, you see. But if you said to me exactly where that was, unless I saw the day, there was one particular day where the sun was shining. I'd walked all these poppy fields were in bloom, and poppy is my favorite flower. Um, they were all in bloom. Carried on, and then I went up a hill, and I was kind of like, God, my dad's pushing me up this hill psychologically, going, "Come on, Lindsey, get your ass up that hill." And as I came down it, there was a castle to the left, and my entire body just, I don't know, there was a beautiful energy from walking the entire day with these fields of poppies and old historical buildings. And I started, this is going to sound really ridiculous, but I started moving my hands because I move a lot. If you don't know who I am, movement is big for me, and music. And but energy, I suddenly felt, because the sun was around, I suddenly felt these balls of energy. So I felt like I was moving it around me. I probably walked for about 5 miles with this massive grin on my face, feeling like the Camino, like I had the Camino energy just flowing around me like a big ball. If anyone had seen me, they must have thought, who on earth is this woman? Actually, lots of people saw me, and I spoke not on that particular moment there for that day. But yeah, I've met some people like Lewis, who I am still friends with now, and then he lives in Portugal. I then went and did some of the Portuguese Camino with him, met some of his friends that he's done the Camino. Yeah. So it builds lifelong friendships and Camino energy that you walk with for miles.
I could just see the solar flames circulating around you there, Lindsey.
Honestly, what it felt like. I felt like there was an aura of energy that I'd never felt before in my life. And I thought, I don't know what this is, but I love it.
And that's why you're going back for more. So, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, Lindsey recommends a poppy field on a hill by a castle. Go and find it. Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Let's try. I'm going to try and just kind of jog your memory? And is there a hotel, hostel, or albergue that you'd recommend anywhere on the Camino?
Oh, there was there was one that I absolutely loved him. It was on the Camino Frances, and this guy, I can't think exactly where it was, but what a beautiful guy. He spoke very little English, and we were communicating all across his wall. He had his Camino um, stamp books. So he'd done quite a few, and they were on the top of along running along the top. So we got talking, and I, in broken English, and me trying to speak a little bit of Spanish, which is terrible. Um, I worked out that so he had bought that place because he'd fallen in love with the Camino, but didn't feel like sometimes the albergues, the original albergue experience, was still available. And that was what he created in his home. So you all eat together, and the little, bunks, and he still was keeping it. I think I paid €10, and it was just a lovely experience with a very, very kind human being that was, yeah, like me, had fallen in love with the Camino experience, and now was creating, making sure that that stayed in his life by there is a picture on the whole house is yellow, and I took a picture with me just sitting in the window, and I sat there for about 3 hours in my bikini with some flowers and just looking out over the fields and mountains. It was beautiful. Yeah.
If you are able to find the name of that place anywhere in your memories or photos or notes, then feel free to just kind of send it to me, and I can just drop a little
Yeah.
note in the show notes so people can
I
see
will
where that
find it
is.
for you, but there's a
Because it
few that
sounds
I'll
like we
find
need to know where
badly.
that is, because it sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Now, this question is probably a great description of yourself, in that the Camino is full of colorful characters
Mm.
and
Yeah.
sometimes random serendipitous events. Did you meet or experience or witness any of those along the way? Feel free to go into great detail.
I met so many different people, yeah, with all these different energies. And
Stories.
quite often the language. There was one day that I stayed at an albergue, and there was six of us. There was a guy from China who very, owned a company. He was very, very quiet, but we all then shared our stories of why we were on the Camino. And his was that he owned a company, and he needed time out, and his sister had done a Camino, and he'd come over, and this was him having his own experience of it. There was another lady, she was from Germany. There was three people that they were doing it over 4 years, and they had come back as three friends. This was their fourth year of doing that section, of coming back to do that new section. And then there was me. And then I think she was a therapist, the other lady, and she was French. But we all sat there around a table where the couple that owned the albergue had cooked, and we all dined together, shared our stories and our whys. Um, I met another guy that just I always put flowers in my hair. And he ended up saying we walked for the entire day together, but he then was picking different flowers and making bunches of flowers up. I was learning about flowers in his, because he was from Portugal, but I was on the French Camino. So yeah, that was another one. Who else?
That's a
Who else have
that's
I?
a
Well,
typical day on the
Lewis.
Camino, isn't it? Yeah, very typical. And tell us
Yeah,
about Lewis or Luis
that's
or
so
Lewis. Yeah.
yeah, Luis. And I can't remember the other. There was another lovely guy with him. But we ended up dancing on the signs, just talking, and we collided over my 27 days. We collided three times. never, not on purpose, just the Camino, for whatever reason, decided that again we should collide. Again, we should collide. Yeah, he'd been in the forces all of his life, and was able to retire at 55, and that this was what he now did as part of his retirement plan. Enjoy the Camino experience, and he loves it because he gets to meet new people. But he's super expressive, like me.
Carry on. Don't mind
Yeah.
us. Don't mind us. You do what you got to do. As they say, you do you, definitely.
You do
no,
you.
and I think that is just typical of the Camino and how the Camino breaks down societal barriers, normal societal barriers, where you just get a melting pot of people of different ages and nationalities, and everyone just gets along, and it's such a great leveler. And in this day and age of all the crap that's going on in the world, it's just such a great reset. I think it really, really is. I think now more than ever, the Camino and its merry band of international pilgrims can provide an escape from reality that we all need. And I'm not going to go into, political diatribes or anything like that, but definitely where we're all living happily ever after together as internationals. I like that idea.
Yeah. And me too.
Yeah. So, lap of honor round, Lindsey. These will be short, sharp, quick answers. Okay. So this is like you've just got to Santiago and you think, you know what? I'm going to take a lap of honor for 3 or 4 days to finish there and treat myself to an extra 3 or 4 days. The lap of honor. Here we go. Your favorite Camino blog, book, vlog, and or film?
Is it called The Way?
There you go.
I think that's the film. Yeah. The
Awesome.
book, your book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I didn't tell Lindsey to say that, by the way, just so you know.
No.
It's called The Only Way is West. Anyway, where was I?
Yeah.
So social media personality or account worth following?
Oh, blimey. Outside of ours?
Yours is much more interesting than mine. Don't worry about that.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Someone you follow, someone that you like their posts a lot and you think, oh, that's useful, that's good. Something related to walking or hiking or...
I love outdoor active. I follow them because they have lots of different walks and inspire you to walk. Yeah.
Is that on Instagram?
Yeah, that's on Instagram.
Right.
That's the app that I use. I use Strava and Outdoor Active. And they, for me, as a solo woman hiker, there is no way that is the app that got me, whether I ran out of signal, I'm in SOS, whatever it is, that it's all marked out already. So whatever happened, I always knew I was safe in the middle of nowhere and I could get to somewhere. Yeah.
Thank you. Outdoor Active or Strava.
Outdoor Active.
Favorite food and or drink on the Camino?
Oh, that would be red wine. Yeah, red wine. Which I loved. And what was that he cooked? It was lovely. I'd go with prawns, like a gambas pilpil.
Ah, yeah, like the garlic prawns, like that.
Yeah.
Gambas al ajillo, just if you want to.
Gambas al ajillo.
That's it.
Ajojo. No.
Close.
Yeah. Keep trying, Lindsey.
If you go into a restaurant and do that, they're just going to look at you strange. But
yeah. Is she a donkey? What is she?
Sorry, we don't have that on the menu. Gambas al ajillo. King prawns, garlic prawns. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. One thing you didn't need and wouldn't take again?
I only take 2 sets of clothes. I took 4. It was far too excessive.
Agreed. 2 sets of clothes serves you easily.
Yeah.
One thing you wish you'd packed?
Oh, I think I'd forgotten scissors. So I bought scissors. Yeah.
What were they handy for?
And I'd forgotten because cutting my hair. So I cut my own hair. And if, shoelace, anything, scissors are handy for your
Yeah.
plasters, for your shoelaces, if you want to hang them up or cut something, or fabric, you need to cut fabric up to tie things, or
A quote or mantra for tough times on the road.
live it, be it, feel it.
Beautiful. A guilty pleasure you carried with you.
I don't know if I can say that publicly.
Okay. We'll leave that to the imagination.
Just go to Ann Summers is what I'd say.
Beautiful. A Spanish product or shop that came in useful. Is there a shop or something you end up buying when you're out there and you're like, oh, there's that shop again. I'll pop in there.
I think, do you know what? It was actually chemists. So in chemists, if I needed a painkiller, that was great. There was a time that I absolutely stank. And I went in there and I started spraying what I thought was the perfume. And the lovely lady came up and she said, "That's not our perfume. That's the men's aftershave." And I said, "Well, look, I really smell." But she helped me. I bought a tiny little bottle of perfume so that I stopped smelling like a homeless person for a while.
So a farmacia.
Farmacia.
Farmacia. Yeah, I've learned the lingo. Right, a Camino.
Yes.
I think you've already said this. A Camino app, internet resource, which was Strava, or what was the name of it?
Outdoor active.
Outdoor active. Okay. So, the biggest, most important lesson, you can go into a bit more detail in this one, just so you know, the lap of honor has now been walked. Biggest, most important lesson you took from the Camino to your life back home.
To embrace being present. Yeah.
There's
that
no
would be my
better place to learn that skill than the Camino, that's for sure.
Yeah, it teaches you that day in with every day that you spend with it. Yeah, and I think we've forgotten how to be present, or even give ourselves permission to be present in each day. And it's so very important for us human beings. Yeah.
Before I ask you to tell everyone where they can follow you and about your next projects, and all of that kind of stuff, I like to kind of finish on a high. A Camino song, one that gets you in the Camino mood or reminds you of the Camino. Feel free to sing.
That's the song that would come on. Yeah. Or I used to sing my own little song and just go, "Buen camino, buen camino, buen camino, buen." I mean, apologies for the sound of my voice, but yeah.
No,
there you go.
This is where we're free to express ourselves on the Camino. I've actually got that in my head now. It's not going to go away. Buen camino, buen camino.
Buen camino.
Either that or the Gypsy Kings.
Yeah, that's it.
Bamboleo.
Yeah, and that when I finished the Camino.
Do you know what Bamboleo means in Spanish?
Does it mean
it means
live.
Blister whisperer. You didn't know that, did you?
I love that. Bamboleo, blister whisperer.
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well, does it? But
no. That when I finished my Camino Frances in where the cathedral and everything is, they were playing. There was not them, but there was just a group of 4 guys playing drums, the mandolin, and that is what they were playing. And I was in my cut down shorts, and I just started dancing, and other people started dancing, and before you knew it, there was a whole load of us dancing to Bamboleo, Bamboleo. He got me up, and yeah.
It only takes one person to break that ice, doesn't it? And you were that person.
Yeah.
So tell us about where the listeners can find you, first of all, please, online, best place to find you and follow you.
You can go to lindseyWalks.com, which is www.lindsey.walks.com, or go on to Lindsey Walks on Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. And then you'll find my personal account that slides because I collaborate with my Lindsey Walks as a company. Yeah.
And what does Lindsey Walks as a company do?
It is, I set it up purely to help and inspire as many people as I possibly could to get outdoors in nature. Yeah. So,
And
and to do that, I self-fund, and I also do that by going out to different companies that I believe, like Lumi, for example, a very eco-conscious company, and asking them if they would sponsor to help inspire people to get outdoors using my live tracker. And those various companies, that's what they do. They sponsor to help empower people to get outdoors. Yeah,
if I'm not
simple.
mistaken, you've got a fundraiser going on as well?
Yeah, so for last year and for everything I've ever walked, I always do that for Mind because I'm of the belief that every single one of us here at some point will need support with our mental health. And Mind, for every pound that you donate, 82 pence of that is someone at the end of the phone for you, at the end of an email, at the end of a text. That is what that money goes on. The rest of it goes on just making sure that everyone's available. So I always do it for Mind, and I do it for National Trails UK, who look after 6,000 miles of our great British treks, basically, so we can all go immerse ourselves in nature.
Well,
Yeah.
I highly encourage all of the listeners to go and follow Lindsey on Instagram. I'll put the links to all of Lindsey's Instagram pages and website in the show notes, so you can just go and click on them. And Lindsey, just to sign off, imagine I'm sitting here and I'm like, I want to walk the Camino, but I'm scared. Can I leave my job for that amount of time? Can I leave my family? Can I leave my friends? I'm not sure if I could do it physically. What would you say to me to convince me to go?
I would say find a way to do it that works for your lifestyle. So if it means that you can achieve your Camino by breaking that up into sections, then do it that way. If it means that you can take a month off of work, do it that way. But research and never be afraid to ask people questions or gain advice. And please, everything I do, it's free advice. So if someone would like advice on it, I'm more than happy to help. Yeah.
Lindsey Bell, the last thing to say is buen camino.
Oh, Bradley. Muchas gracias.
Just before you go, everybody, I thought I would tack on to the end of this episode an audio sample of my Amazon best-selling Camino de Santiago memoir, The Only Way is West. Customers say, according to Amazon's AI-generated review of my book, customers find this book to be a fantastic read that provides countless LOL moments while being well written and easy to follow. The narrative receives positive feedback for its excellent storytelling, and customers describe it as honest and filled with tears on several occasions. They appreciate the character development, with one customer noting the colourful cast of pilgrims and find it thought-provoking and inspiring. That is AI generated from the text of customer reviews. 4.5 out of 5, 1,509 global ratings. So if you fancy a funny read to get you in the mood for the Camino or to bring back memories of your Camino, then look no further. The Only Way is West. Look it up on Amazon. Cheers, everybody.
2 years before I walked the Camino de Santiago, I was partying in a packed nightclub on the Greek holiday island of Corfu. I hadn't even heard of the Camino, but was about to unwittingly trigger a series of extraordinary coincidences that would guide me down the fabled pilgrim path and change my life. The first of those coincidences occurred when I bought a drink in the club and the barman handed me a €20 note in my change. Scribbled on that €20 bill was an email address. Tightening the note between my fingers, I held it up to the light and tried to focus as a drunk guy holding beer bottles in both hands barged past. Natalix_666 at whatever it was .com. Why would anyone write their email address on a banknote? Was it someone in the club wanting to chat me up? A quick scope of the dance floor didn't reveal any alluring looks. Did the account belong to a girl called Natalie? Was she a Satan worshipper, a fan of death metal music, a devil between the sheets? Then the fog of irrational thought cleared and a smile of realization flashed across my face. So this was why every attempt to impress the ladies that night had failed miserably. In a desperate bid to catch a roving eye, I'd spent the evening dancing half-heartedly to music I hated and asking women for cigarettes even though I wasn't a smoker. I'd plunged to a new low when I'd scored a smoke from some girls and tried sparking up while holding it like a pen between my shaky fingers, nowhere near my mouth. The girls had walked away, ridiculing me, and I'd felt very silly indeed. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Resorting to using the lame chat-up line that I was a singer in a rock band got the reply it deserved. "What's your band called?" "Crap Street Boys," mocked a girl with holiday braids in her hair as she looked me up and down in contempt. If anyone was on form that night, it certainly wasn't me. The reason why, though, was now obvious. Clearly, the deities of destiny were guiding me to something and someone much more exciting. The email address of a mysterious girl. Bolting through the doors of the club and out into the humid Greek summer night, I made for the nearest 24-hour internet cafe. Being out all evening had drained my mobile's battery, and it was the quickest way to get in contact. A sour-faced insomniac at the front desk with greasy hair, stubble, and storm clouds under his eyes snatched my €2 coin for an hour online. Once logged on, I shot Natalix_666 a message. Time was of the essence. I explained how and where I'd found her email address, asked if she was still in Corfu, and told her my exact location. Signing off, I popped the big question. Would she like to meet? Tonight? I dreamt of a happy ending to my ego-crushing evening. Maybe she was in that very internet cafe. My email would pop up on her screen, she'd leap from her seat, come running into my arms, and we'd skip hand in hand back to the club and fall in love doing the Macarena, the conga, or even Agadoo. I sprang out of my chair, bought a Coke from a vending machine and returned to the computer. Great news! The message hadn't bounced back. The email address was real, and surely a reply was just minutes away. I stared at the screen, my fists clenched in hope. I tapped my fingers on the table. I sifted through my junk mail in case her reply had got lost somewhere among the offers of Viagra, Thai brides, and surgery to enhance my lance. I searched for her email address on the web, hoping for a lead to a phone number or social media profile, but uncovered nothing. I worried that the police might burst in and arrest me for stalking. I mean, Greek law enforcement, not Sting and his bandmates. I got bored and disheartened. My glass drained to half empty. When my hour was up, I sighed disappointedly and conceded that my idea was nothing more than an inebriate's insanity, and my chances of receiving a reply were extremely slim. Imagine, then, how my socks were knocked off when, 2 years later, as I packed my bag to walk the Camino, Natalix_666 unexpectedly dropped back into my life.